the action, if not reversed, will lead to loss of thousands of jobs in a country where jobs are scarce. Yeah. Then I have another story here. Inflation, why we can't have salary review now. That's coming from Buhari. President Muhammadu Buhari has acknowledged the imperative of the general salary review for federal civil servants due to rising worldwide inflation, noting, however, that revenue constraints have become a hindrance to the ability of the government to meet obligations to all sectors. The president was responding to a request for salary review for civil servants due to problems of high inflation amidst general economic disruption made by Dr. Tommy Okon, president of Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, during a visit of his Central Working Committee to him at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, pleaded with them to understand the situation of government due to revenue constraints. Then, foreign airlines to blacklist Nigeria by December over trapped funds. Here is another story. Foreign airlines operating into Nigeria have concluded plans to blacklist the country should the federal government fail to remit their over $600 million trapped in the Central Bank of Nigeria. The indication followed announcement earlier made by Emirates Airlines to stop its operations into Nigeria effective September 1st, 2022 to protest its accrued revenue amounting to $85 million stuck in Nigeria. Report says that the pull out of Emirates may be the beginning of the total collapse of the country's international air transport, as majority of the airlines have given the government up to December to release their trapped funds or have them withdraw their services from Nigeria. There is another story. I think now let's have this story on sport. Joshua heavier than Usyk ahead. WBA, IBF, WBO rematch. Britain's Anthony Joshua weighed in 23 IBF heavier than champion Alexander Usyk ahead of tonight's heavyweight world title rematch in Saudi Arabia. Ukrainian Usyk was tipped to come in at the career heaviest weight, but just about matched the previous fight by weighing in at 11 pounds, that is 100.5 kilograms. Joshua, 32, came in at 17 IB with neither man showing any sign of nerves in the final face-off. Finally, before we round up, EPL, Ndidi, Haribo clash as Awoni faces Iwobi at Godsison Park. New Southampton signing Joe Haribo will have to face compatriots Wilfred Ndidi and Kelechi Iheanacho today at the King Power Stadium as Leicester City high first win of the season in the Premier League. The Foxes had settled for a 2-2 draw in the season's opener against Brentford, followed by a 2-4 loss to Arsenal in London last weekend. And that is how far we are able to go on the newspaper segment of the program. Do stay tuned and enjoy more of the segments of our program. Stay tuned. I can still hear the soft southern winds in the live oak tree. And noise William
I guess we're all gonna be what we're gonna be. So what do you do with good old boys like me? Nothing makes a sound in the night like the wind does. But you ain't afraid if you're washed in the blood like I was. Smell a cave jasmine through the window screen. John R. and the Wolfman kept me company. By the light of the radio by my bed, with Thomas Wolfe whispering in my head. I can still hear the soft southern winds in the live oak trees. And those Williams boys, they still mean a lot to me. Hank in Tennessee, I guess we're all gonna be what we're gonna be. So what do you do with good old boys like me? When I was in school, I ran with a kid down the street. But I watched him burn himself up on bourbon and speed. But I was smarter than most, and I could choose. Learned to talk like the man on the 6 o'clock news. When I was 18, Lord, I hit the road. But it really doesn't matter how far I go. I can still hear the soft southern winds in the live oak trees. And those Williams boys, they still mean a lot to me. Hank in Tennessee, I guess we're all gonna be what we're gonna be. So what do you do with good old boys like me? Yeah, what do you do with good old boys like me?
I've always felt like that the blues and country music were kissing cousins. A bit difference in the way instruments are used and some of the energies. But as far as to the greatest extent, what blues addresses and what country, true country, addresses, it's all wrapped up in feelings. And the best songs go to the heart of what it.
Yes, you are welcome back on the program. And we are now on the first topic of our discussion on the program today, and that has to do with the the democracy in Kenya. Our guest is already in the house. Oluchi,
Yes.
you're welcome. Good morning, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah. Now, our guest is in the house with us now, Mr. Smollett Shitu Alamo, a veteran journalist. Our boss, for that matter. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, before we go into the discussion proper, we'll take a special report about Kenya election. Please stay tuned.
African countries had for many years suffered leadership crisis occasioned by military intervention in politics. Right from the early 60s, when military government was the norm, the soldiers carried out coup d'etat and took reins of power. Consequently, some of the leaders who refused to relinquish power changed the constitution to suit themselves and changed from military to civilian administration without relinquishing power. However, democracy in Africa is beginning to take a great turn for the better through electoral reforms that embrace innovative technologies, especially during voter accreditation and the uploading of election results after voting. In Nigeria, the Electoral Act has helped in laying a solid foundation for achieving credible and transparent elections, which seems to have eluded the country for many years and helped restore the confidence of Nigeria in the electoral process. These innovative technologies have equally been embraced in other African countries, such as Ghana, South Africa, among others. The just concluded Kenya general elections is the most recent that caught attention of observers all over the continent. Former President of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, led the team of observers from the Electoral Institute for Sustainable Development in Africa that monitored the credibility of the election.
Far, we've seen that within Nairobi and the polling stations we have witnessed, the turnout appears good. The process is going on smoothly. There are no infractions yet. We've not observed any infractions. So we pray that it should continue in this spirit till the end of the voting.
The chairperson of the Kenya Electoral Commission, Mr. Chebukati, declared William Ruto, the current vice president of the country, the winner of the election. Mr. Chebukati said Mr. Ruto polled 50.49% of the votes cast, while Mr. Odinga polled 48.85%.
The Constitution and the law. I, Wafula Chebukati, chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, hereby declares that Ruto William Samoei of ID number 6847208 has been duly elected as the president of the Republic of Kenya under the provisions of Article 138 of the Constitution in the presidential election.
In counter of the results, 4 of the 7 members of the body rejected the presidential election results, saying the independent body was under intense pressure after 6 days of waiting. Raila Odinga, the candidate who was declared the first runner-up in alignment with the 4 members of the commission, has rejected the results and has vowed to challenge it in court. Mr. Odinga accused Wafula Chebukati, the chairperson of the Kenya Electoral Commission, of dictatorship in announcement of the result.
I do not want to fully address our strategies going forward, but suffice it to note that we will be pursuing all constitutional and legal options available to us. We will do so because we regard the many flaws in the elections and the wrongs committed by the IBC as fatal to the process and the outcome announced by Mr. Chebukati. We urge Kenyans and the friends and partners of Kenya abroad to stand tall and be counted as we seek to advance the ideals of democracy.
While speaking with OSBC, a member of the civil society organizations in Osun State, Mr. Michael Hebofin, explained that Kenya's deployment of technology in the conduct of the election was a good development, but regretted that it was only limited to the accreditation aspect of the whole process, unlike that of Nigeria that involved the electronic transmission of election results, which could have further boosted the credibility of the election as experienced in Ekiti and Osun elections.
Nigeria, we are already moving, and with the experience from Ekiti and Osun, we are moving, and the election, the technology is helping us and cannot allow fraud or change of figures. But we cannot compare it with Kenya, though they used technology. But if you look at it very well, you see that the technology Kenya used was only meant for accreditation and not for the uploading of the results and not for collation.
He urged African leaders to emulate the new electoral act in Nigeria's electoral system in order to strengthen democracy in Africa. He added that Kenya's government still needs to reform the electoral law to allow electronic transmission of results, saying that its absence was responsible for the violence that accompanied the announcement of the election results.
African leaders should just come and be learning now from Nigeria. I think that is the best. African leaders should come and be learning from Nigeria now, because we have started good and we are going to end very well.
Speaking in the same vein, another respondent, Mr. Ayoade Aderinkola explained that the true practice of democracy just started in Africa with the recent developments in electoral processes. He revealed that Nigerian youths are wide awake now and considers competency in electing leaders, which the election process would help achieve.
The youth now are growing up and they see more light than the elderly person. And as a result of it, we are seeing development even in our country. Let's go down to Kenya. The people in Kenya, they know what they see. They know they are in Kenya, they know what their former head of state was doing. And with this development now, without being there, we actually know that there is changes in Africa. There is development. Because we don't even expect that the opposition will win in Kenya. And he won. And if you see the situation and what we see on TV, we see that the people in that country, they are very happy.
They urged other electoral commissions in Africa to emulate the Electoral Act being used in Nigeria at the moment, as it exhibits a high level of credibility so as to ensure absolute fairness in elections. Ayobami Akomolafe, reporting for OSBC.
Yes, you are welcome back. If you just joined us, still starting on the street, and we are on our first guest back. Discussing democracy in Kenya with us. Now, sir, let's generally look at democracy in Africa. How far has Africa as a continent gone in the development of democracy?
Independence. That was 1957. We are just, we have not, for many years, 50, 60 years, we never developed. We were just doing what we wanted. And that's the problem we find almost everywhere. But technology that we want to catch up with is also helping us. We recall that Nigeria is 62 years old as a nation. Technology to really do something. So we have just started developing. Kenya was getting it right, and when Obama was going to come to Africa, he decided to go to Kenya, not because his parents were from there, his father was from there, but because they felt they were holding elections and we were not holding. So democracy will grow much better if Africa begins to deploy more technology, and the politicians will be honest amongst themselves and accept the fact that you don't win every time. You lose some and you win some. So until and unless we are able to get all these things, our democracy may be looking 2 steps forward, 3 backwards, and things like that.
Now, regarding the Kenya election, the presidential election that recently held in Kenya, how will you assess that election?
You can't assess that election without going back to the history of Kenya, politically. You see, this was a country, or rather, this is a country which in 1963, when it had independence, was built on a two-pronged, a tribal sentiment. The Kikuyi, which Jomo Kenyatta came from, and the Luo tribes, the two major tribes in that country, which the opposition comes from. So when Jomo Kenyatta became, well, they were in the same group. Just consider them very much like Awolowo and Akitola. Awolowo came from Ijebu. Akitola came from Oyo, speaking Yoruba. This has been the problem. Odinga was the father of Raila Odinga. Jomo Kenyatta was the father of Uhuru Kenyatta. They have been coming a long way. They were the initial nationalists, the fathers of the nation who put their hearts together to get independence. But Jomo Kenyatta was the leader. In the traditional African way, they fell apart. He was vice president. There were 3 vice presidents. Kenya has always learned to share power. So there were 3 vice presidents. Oginda Odinga, yes, was the first vice president. When they fell apart in 1966, it was to the Times of Israel. And the acrimony remained, started from two individuals, went tribal. And so this tribe would not want to see that tribe. And that is what has led to Raila Odinga belonging to the opposition. And he has contested about 5 times now. And he never gets there. So their politics has been focal on 2 tribes, major tribes. And in all ethnicity, it doesn't work. When you bring too much ethnicity, we have it in Nigeria here now. We are suffering from it. But for the first time, Kenya, this time around, got it right because they put a younger man there. Or rather, a younger man came into power. A younger man who the people felt had been cheated. So we will come to that. But so the politics of Kenya has been along those lines. And until the elderly ones did their own and went away. Kenya has had 4 presidents up to now. The 5th one has just been elected. Out of the 5, out of the 4, 3 have been from Kikuyu land, the land of Jomo Kenyatta, the land of Uhuru Kenyatta. Only one has come outside that tribe. And that man was even the vice president of Kenyatta when he died, when Kenyatta died. So it was a natural sequence. Daniel Arap Moi stepped in. But he ruled for about 24 years before a new president could be elected. So Kenya has been combining presidency and what we call prime ministership, one way or the other. They have been combining the 2, if you say effectively, fine, but you get vice presidents here. When the need arises, they will abandon that, they will go for prime ministership. They have had prime ministership as second level 2 times. The prime ministership of Jomo Kenyatta, which came, who was the de facto leader. 1.5 years they got republic and so the presidential system. Not necessarily presidential system, they became, they adopted presidency. So the politics in Kenya has revolved around these 2 parties, 2 ethnic groups. And one symbolized by Kikuyus, the other by the Luo tribe. It has dominated and continues to dominate. But this time around, a problem came. But we cannot talk about this problem without looking at the election of 2013 that brought Uhuru Kenyatta into power. That election, they had to go into a kind of form of alliance. They call it the Jubilee Party. The Jubilee Party brought Kenya victory, Uhuru Kenyatta victory, because the younger person was he was himself also was young. They got to power, and for the first 5 years, of course, Kenyan constitution allows 2-term governance. You do it once, you can go for second term, and go for the second term, 5 years, 10 years. If you rule for 10 years, you have done so much. And if you misrule for 10 years, you have done so badly for the nation. And so Uhuru Kenyatta went into alliance with this young man who they saw was forthcoming and upcoming, Jubilee Party. But halfway into, or I would say more than halfway into, until 2017, 2018, they were still together, very strong. And in 2018, in Kenya, they call it the handshake. Uhuru Kenyatta went back to his own old foe, shook hands with him, accepted him. Maybe because they felt it was the time for him also to become president. So Uhuru went to support him, leaving his vice deputy behind. And this is the deputy he had traversed the vastness of the country, telling the people particularly of his native home, that this is my successor. So after 7 years, he decided to change. 6, 7 years, and then went into an alliance with a 77-year-old man who is even older than Kenyatta himself. But the politics of two different ethnic groups, two different political giants coming up, maybe, I don't know, maybe the thinking must have been that, okay, Kikuyus, we have had it, let's allow the Blues also to have it this time around. Because at any point in time, Odinga is a formidable politician in Kenyan politics. So this is what caused it. So the young man, William Ruto, had to go and form a new party. And he was in power. They couldn't, because he was elected, so they couldn't sack him. And when he started his own ground, he made it a policy that this is the time for the younger generation. He created a scenario in which an average Kenyan knew that there's a dichotomy between the old and the new. There's a dichotomy between the haves and the have-not. He came as a symbol of the younger generation who wanted to wrestle power and give it back to the people. Whether or not he will be able to do that, we don't know it. But he has succeeded in doing that, creating a gap between the haves and the have-nots. Telling them this is your country, telling them I will do better than the old brigades. He was able to relate and resonate with the people. And today he's an elected president. Whatever it is, the electoral body has announced him. Whatever comes out of it is a matter that will unfold. But whoever likes it or whether we like it or not, the fact is true that William is, they have started calling him William.
Yes, William, yes.
So he is the president-elect. And whenever they swear them in, the reigning leader is still the president. The one unique thing about Kenya is that they don't have a fixed time to say this is, when elections are conducted, that is when you can say you are looking for swearing in. Because, why am I saying so? These people came to power in April 2013. Ordinarily by April they should have gone, but they are still in power. And so after all these Bulabalu, courts, etc., then when whatever the court decides, they will now swear in the new president. So it is a wait and see game. Not yet Uhuru.
Okay. Not yet Uhuru.
Not yet. Totally.
Totally. Now, let's look at the place of ethnicity in African politics. Has it actually helped in any way?
It has not helped, but it has helped also. You see, a people, look at the people's culture. The Europeans don't have anything called ethnicity. But this is our own culture. It's part and parcel of our life. We can't but do it. The next generation after yours may get it right.
Okay.
But our generation, the generation I follow, it has always been family, family, family. But this generation coming now, they don't even bother. So a time will come in this country and in Africa when there won't be ethnicity anymore. But it will take another 10, 15 to 20 years, if not more. Whether you like it or not, Africans, particularly our country, Nigeria, we believe so very much in the family system. So, Yorubas have a saying, which is not very good, but they say, I'm a Ribaku. The man I don't know, he could die. You don't care. But if I know you are Oluchi is my family member, I must protect. That's the African mentality. And it cuts across. You find it in Ghana, you find it in Guinea, you find it in the black African subcontinent. You find it.
And what has that translated to in terms of development?
Yeah, it has not translated much. But whether you like it or not, it first won us independence.
Okay.
It first won us independence. It must not remain like that because the negatives are many. But it is an evolution. We are evolving. A new generation will come and they will get it better. But this generation has come and given us independence. We must be grateful. They have not been able to transit. But coming generation, fine, your children, they are different. Their perception of life is different from you. So by the time your children become adults and their own children, that's when Nigeria and Africa will get it better. But for now, it's in our blood, it's in our DNA.
Still on the Kenya election, in previous the previous elections in Kenya have always been characterized by violence.
Yes, it is typical. I told you, it's a rift between.
Yes, but the recent one conducted, the presidential poll, was free of violence.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think is responsible for this?
Well, the first thing is what I've said.
Yeah.
This is a young man they can resonate with.
Okay.
He's only 55. And he has been tested as deputy president for 10 years. So you know what he could do. Ruto was a street hustler. He was selling what? He was selling chicken and peanuts. He has gone through it. But don't forget, he's very educated. He has a PhD. So education too is counting. Because he's a hustler and has seen it all, is also counting. Because he's a younger person and the people are resonating with him. Because he told them, I will do better than these old politicians. And again, because the people must have felt he was cheated. This is a man who had carried along to his country home and had told the people, this is my successor. Then halfway through, you change the goalpost and you begin to go for a handshake with the opposition. The average right-thinking younger generation will know that these people, they want to keep on playing us as football. So many things went for, and the young man also has the fear of God. He has the fear of God. So these are some of the things that happen. So the people must have looked at it. Well, let's watch and see. Let's wait. There should be no violence. In fairness, the non-violence did not start from him. It started also from his boss. The election that brought them in, before then, were violent prone. But since then, they have been having, and they have been improving and improving. Kenyatta had to go to The Hague to face the International Crime Court. Yeah. They set him free because the elections before his own, it was bloody. 2007 was bloody. Some 500,000 people thereabout got displaced. Several hundreds were killed, and the country was becoming ungovernable. So they have had a tradition. Again, it is the tradition of older generation, old men, putting or pitching their tents against tribal tents. Today, there's nothing. Again, we will say technology has helped, but more than technology helping. Of course, it is the same technology that is creating some problem that some members of the commission are saying no. But I tell you, if you go deeper, that is all because of greed. They must have had sympathy for Raila. Yeah. And so they can decide. The president, the chairman, maybe also had sympathy for Ruto. But again, going back, these are the inputs. Okay. Let's go by them.
Now, let's look at the implication of this. For the youth in Kenya to have curbed the moves of the elderly, in quote. And this is Africa where people always, there's this respect for the elders. Oh, the elders have spoken, let us respect them. But this time around, they came out and said, no, we want to create our own path.
Yes, Nigerian youth are doing the same thing now.
All right.
They are coming. You see, you get to a point that you can't take, this Baba Sope, the father has said, because we all go to the market. What have the Babas done for the youth? They have eaten their future. If the Babas had stayed as statesmen and not politicians, the younger generation will not revolt. the younger generation, we are a people in Africa, we have culture, we respect elders. But the elders must also do what is right. African elders have not done the right. They are supposed to have played the role of statesmen. They play the role of politics. Politicians are always looking for the next election. Statesmen are always looking for the next generation. This has caused the problem. So in our country, and that's the reason you had SARS.
Yes.
And if we don't take care, there will be many, many such revolutions. Revolutions in the sense that the young men and women will say, no, we can't take it again. Because you have eaten my future. I can't go to school now. There is 6 months I can't go to school. I can't go to the university because you have eaten my future. And when all of them go into synergy and say, oh, enough of this eating of our future, it will be calamity. And that calamity we must be. So these older generation must begin to disengage. That is what it means. If you have eaten my future, allow me to come. When does the youth come? You say the future leader. They are from now. You must. In 1961, America had its youngest president, 35-year-old Jeff Kennedy. Since then, they have had different, but at least 60, 70 years back, they have had. When would Africa begin to have younger men? When we talk of younger men today, we talk about the 40s up to the 50s. Anybody who crosses 60 is getting old. Anybody who, and so I look at it and right now, all our political leaders in this country, the frontline politicians, they are all old. Even Obi, who is the youngest, younger among them, is past 60. Some are 70, some are in their 75, etc., etc. The 75-year-old man will never think like a 40-year-old man. He wants to protect the status quo. The future belongs to the young men, and so it is young men who can plan. When Awolowo and co were going for the Lancaster, yes, they were younger men, so they could project into the future. If you allow older men to keep on, look, I am over 70 now. I cannot think like a 40, 50-year-old man. I won't. I cannot. I will not. It is you who know where the shoe pinches, so that you can plan. If you want to plan 50 years from now, you are 40, it makes it fine. You might be lucky. God might be kind on you, and you could be 90. But you allow a 70, 75-year-old man to come and plan for you, you are creating problems. But unfortunately, this is our circumstance in Nigeria today and in many parts of Africa. But with time, there will be evolution, and it is evolving gradually. In the next 5, 10 years, we will have younger men in their 40s, 50s to say we want to be president.
Now, so let's do a bit of Yoruba segment of the program now. Mr. Smollett.
Ọ̀gbẹ́ni
Smollett Shitu Alamu. Ọ̀rọ̀ ìdìbò tó wáyé ní ilẹ̀ Kenya láìpẹ́ yìí, níbi tí a ti gbọ́ pé William Ruto ó jáwé olúborí. Kí ni, báwo lẹ ṣe rí ètò ìdìbò yẹn, àti pé kí ni ó máa fà fún ilẹ̀ Áfíríkà?
Ok, ẹ já mọ̀ láti gbà tí àwọn Jomo Kenyatta àti Odinga tí wọ́n ti ń bá ṣe bọ̀ láti 1960. In fact, Jomo Kenyatta ń kó 1952 Mau struggle nǹkan nationalist ni wọ́n débẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n àgbà ti dé, àwọn ọmọ wọn méjì, Odinga àti Kenyatta, àwọn ọmọ wọn ló fẹ́ ṣòṣèlú. Àná ń ṣòṣèlú, ìkànnì Uhuru Kenyatta, ọmọ Kenyatta ni ọmọ Odinga ni Raila. Wọ́n ṣe bá kíní méjì ni wọ́n láti pé tribes, ẹ̀yà méjì ni wọ́n. Àwọn kan wá láti Kikuyi, àwọn kan wá láti Luo. Ṣé mo pé Áfíríkà aláìkí ká máa ṣe òṣèlú ìlú mi rèé, ẹ̀yà mi rèé. Ìyẹn ni wọ́n bá bọ̀ títí to a day the year 2000 years yẹn Arab Moi òun náà ó lò gbà fún bíi 24 years òun ni second president Kenya. Ó ti tó àkókò tí àwọn ọmọdé tí àkókò wa náà máa kọ. Ìyẹn ni wọ́n wá wò nínú election nígbà tí Uhuru 10 years ago he was in his 50s ọmọ 50 years nígbà yẹn òun pẹ̀lú Ruto yìí wọ́n pawọ́pọ̀ wọ́n dá Jubilee Party lẹ̀ pé Ruto ó kéré sí lọ́jọ́ orí nígbà tó ń bá máa kúrò ń bẹ̀ lẹ́yìn ọdún 10 Ruto àbọ̀ ọbẹ̀ ó wá dàrin bọ́ọ̀lù wọn á change goal post ó wá tún Uhuru wá lọ bá ẹ̀gbọ́n tiẹ̀ torí ẹ̀gbọ́n la pé ọ̀rẹ́ méjì ló bí àwọn méjèèjì so ẹ̀gbọ́n ẹ̀ náà ni Yorùbá máa ń pè ẹja máa Raila 77 ẹ̀ tó fẹ́ kó ṣe president nígbà tí ó bá lọ́dún 10 how many years ni ó ti máa 88 nígbà tí Uhuru wá kúrò lẹ́yìn tó ti sọ sẹ́yìn pé Ruto àbúrò mi lélẹ́wẹ̀ ẹ máa bá support ẹ̀ tó wá lọ bá bàbá àgbà àwọn ọmọ Kenya wá wò pé ṣé kò ṣe pé àwọn pípé wọn ń gbá wa bí ẹni gbá bọ́ọ̀lù ni ìdílé méjì ẹ̀yà méjì ẹ̀yin náà lẹ́sàfẹ́ máa lọ nínú president mẹ́rin tí Kenya ti ní 3 ló wá láti inú Kikuyu ẹ̀yà Kikuyu ẹ̀tún wá fẹ́ ẹni tí ò tí ì débẹ̀ rí tó jẹ́ ẹ̀yà Luo wọn á fẹ́ gbé síbẹ̀ Ọlọ́run sọ pé Ọlọ́run mú wọn ni àbí ibi tí wọ́n ronú sí kọ̀ lọ síbẹ̀ àwọn ọmọ Kenya wá wò pé eléyìí 55 years ni ẹja gbárùkù tì torí pé wọ́n tún yàn jẹ ọ̀gá rẹ̀ ti ń sọ fún gbogbo ayé pé òun ló máa kàn ká lo modern terminology sí òun ló máa kàn olókàn ó wá di 2018 ẹ wá lọ change ẹ tún wá lọ bá bàbá àgbàlagbà pé ẹ̀yin ló tún máa kàn o àwọn ọmọ ìlú wọn wá Kenya wọn sọ ẹ má jẹ́ káwọn pípé ọmọ àgbà wa ẹ ń gbá bọ́ọ̀lù ẹja gbárùkù tì ọmọdé yìí mo fi lọ àjí pé ó wọlé báyìí sí so ó fún wa ní àǹfààní láti mọ̀ pé àwọn Kenya wọ́n ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní gba òmìnira dáradára òmìnira tuntun wọ́n sì ń gbà ní òmìnira tuntun in the sense pé gbà mélòó kò sẹ́ni tó wáyé tí ò ní kú àwọn bàbá àgbàlagbà wọ́n ti ń dàgbà lọ n kò lè máa ronú fún ẹni ọmọ 40-45 àwọn ti ṣe tiwọn ẹjí wọn máa lọ ó ń fi àkíyèsí fún wa pé àwa náà a gbọ́dọ̀ mọ̀ àwọn 40-45 ní ká máa wá kò é ṣe sìn yín o ìsìn kò ṣe ṣe máa ń sìn bàlẹ́yìn ọ̀la wa àwọn ọmọ kéékèèké kí àkùkọ tiwọn náà kọ ká gba àkùkọ wọn láàyè láti kọ torí àwa tí a jẹ́ 70 and above a ti lo gbogbo ìgbà wọn tán ní kínní àwọn ọmọ olè lọ school sìn ṣebí wọn ni ẹbí wọn kọ́ a ti jẹ tiwọn ọjọ́ iwájú wọn a ti jẹ mọ́ tiwa kò sì dá bẹ́ẹ̀ ó ń fi hàn pé Áfíríkà a gbọ́dọ̀ wá nǹkan ṣe sí ètí Kenya ṣe yìí ó gbọ́dọ̀ tẹ́ wa lọ́rùn káwọn náà ká má jìjà ká má jà kò sí jà ń bẹ́ẹ̀ àní ẹja máa ronú ẹ̀yin gbogbo ẹ̀yin 50 and below ẹ máa ronú bí orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ṣe máa dá lọ́la the next 10 years àwa fẹ́ kí ńgbà tá a bá pé 80 ká ti máa wò pé àwọn younger people wọ́n ń gbàjọba wọ́n sì ń ṣèjọba torí kò sí bí 40-year-old ṣe máa ronú èmi ò lè ronú bẹ́ẹ̀ I'm 70 báwo mo ṣe fẹ́ ronú ọmọdé báwo mo ṣe máa ń tọ́ fẹ́ máa ń tẹ́ fẹ́ lifestyle yẹn ó ti yàtọ̀ ń sìn tí ẹni tó bá dé báyìí wọ́n á bẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ ni láyé tiwa àwa sì bọ́wọ́ àmọ́ àdọ̀bálẹ̀ ni àkókò ti yí nìyẹn so ẹni tí ń bọ̀ ẹ lọ́wọ́ ni wàá nílè sọ ọ̀rọ̀ kọ́rọ̀ sí ẹ àwa 70 and above àti ń pẹ́ ó yẹ ká kúrò ń bẹ̀ ká má wàá sọ pé 60 and go lọ́kàn àwọn tó kàn gan-an ní 40-50 àwọn ló lè because kò sẹ́ni kankan tó bá lo 8 years á lè ṣe nǹkan kan díẹ̀ 70 tó bá sọ́ra wọ́n bá ti lo 8 years lọ ó ti ń gbó lọ nìyẹn gbogbo àwọn tó wà lókè yẹn wọ́n ń gbó lọ ṣùgbọ́n a sọ pé lọ́tẹ̀ yìí bí àkókò ìsìgbà yẹn à gbà bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́yìn ọ̀la kí nàìjíríà máa ronú pé àwọn ọmọdé kéékèèké kákòókò tiwọn náà máa kọ́.
ẹ jẹ́ ká wo ìjọba tiwantiwa ní orílẹ̀ lóde áfíríkà ká wo bí ó ṣe jẹ́ pé gbogbo ìgbà àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ ẹlẹ́yàmẹ̀yà ni wọ́n ṣáà máa ń fi sí inú òṣèlú ṣé ó ti jẹ́ kí ìlọsíwájú kó dé bá ìjọba tiwantiwa.
ìlọsíwájú wà ṣùgbọ́n ìlọsíwájú ò sì sí wíwà tí wọ́n lọ wà ní pé èyí tá a fi gbàjọba òmìnira ni ẹ̀ so ó fún wa ní advantage ńgbà yẹn ethnicity la fi gbàjọba la fi gbòmìnira ṣùgbọ́n kò yẹ ṣe nǹkan tó yẹ ká máa continue
ní over 60 years ago lẹ́sọ̀ ní
so tí ò bá sí wọ́n máa ṣe ní Africa aláìkí family dáadáa gbogbo Africa ni apart from àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ bí Arab tí mi ò mọ culture ọba tá a wá dúdú yìí aláìkí Africa bó lọ sí Ghana wàá bá bó lọ sí Congo wàá bá bó lọ sí Togo wàá bá Kenya ni wọ́n iṣẹ́ wa ni bọ́lọ̀ ń ṣe ṣẹ̀dá wa ni ṣùgbọ́n ayé ń yí ni ó gbọ́dọ̀ change àwọn òyìnbó tẹ́ ẹ mọ̀ aláwọ̀ funfun yẹn wọn ò ní culture báyẹn bàkà tó yí culture wa padà yóò ṣe díẹ̀ bàkà máa yí padà díẹ̀díẹ̀ náà ni ká máa kó àwọn ọmọ torí pé àwa àgbàlagbà á ti jẹ ọ̀la àwọn ọmọ èdè tí bá ṣe pé a jẹ́ ni wọn bá ti ní ẹnu àti máa sọ̀rọ̀ wọn bá mọ̀ pé ẹ̀ ń ṣe tó yẹ pé àwọn náà mọ̀ pé yóò kàn wọ́n Ìbàdàn ni ẹ̀ náà tí wọ́n wájú ọmọ Ìbàdàn mọ̀ pé ó lè di Olúbàdàn yóò kàn ẹ́ ni mọ̀kànmọ̀kàn ni ṣùgbọ́n at the level of government ìyẹn ò lè ṣe ṣe mọ́ ọmọdé lọ́mọ ọmọ àwọn gbàtà àwọn Awólọ́wọ̀ Akíntọ́lá àwọn náà ọmọdé ni wọ́n gbà yẹn some of them were less than 40 àwọn 40 time tí wọ́n ṣe kíní ẹ̀ nìyẹn àkókò tí àǹfààní ń bẹ láti máa káràbásìkì ni tó bá ní kí n dìde ńsìn tí n bá sùn tó wá ní dìde kí n tó lè dìde fún yóò pẹ́ mi díẹ̀ àgbà ti dé nìyẹn bàtà ọmọdé tó bá ní dìde ń bẹ̀ ó ń lọ nìyẹn they have the zeal we don't have àgbàlagbà ní experience ó ti rí ìrírí tó pọ̀ experience yẹn ni ká wá máa fún àwọn ọmọ yìí káwọn ò fi máa ṣe ìjọba any level presidency America ti ní president tó jẹ́ 35 years JF Kennedy lóòótọ́ president wọn ní sìn 78 ni o ṣùgbọ́n àkókò ni ètò kúrò ń bẹ̀ ní 74 ṣùgbọ́n àwọn ti ní system effective system ó lè change nǹkan bó ṣe wù ẹ́ ẹni tí Donald Trump tó fi ní wàhálà ń sìn ní ẹ̀ there is what we call the institutional yes that deal pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ àwọn akíní wọn ò sọ fún president pé àwọn ń lọ attack Donald Trump wọn ò sọ fún because àwọn níṣẹ́ wọn tí wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ ṣe tí òfin sì back wọn nílò ẹ̀ bí báyìí tẹ bá fẹ́ lọ attack ẹ̀dẹ̀kẹ́ kọ́kọ́ sọ fún Buhari náà tó bá gbà tí ò bá gbà ẹ dà lé ni so with time ìlọsíwájú ọmọ àwọn akéèyàn wọn ti fún wa ní àpẹẹrẹ 55 nígbà tí ó bá lò 10 years 65 kọ́ máa lọ sùn next time ẹ wọ ní 50 nígbà tí ó bá lò 60 ó ti dàgbà tó kọ́ máa lọ ní.
ṣe nílò pé ó máa nídìí kí wọ́n fi ọjọ́ orí tí èèyàn gbọ́dọ̀ ṣèké sínú òfin bí ọjọ́ orí àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ bó ṣe wà ní inú òfin tó bá ti pé
tí ẹ bá fo ọjọ́ orí sí ẹ ń deny wọn constitutional right wọn ni tó bá lóun wà sí tí ó bá ti ní wàhálà bàtẹ ẹ̀yin ọmọ ìlú lẹ gbà pé ẹ̀yin á jẹ́ unwritten constitution ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ kọ́lẹ̀ tí a bá kọ́lẹ̀ human rights wọn lẹ ń takò yẹn bàtẹ fi wọn lẹ̀ tó bá gbà kùtì ẹ̀yin kéékèèké lẹ sọ pé àfẹ́ àgbàlagbà ẹ sì lọ ọ̀nà wà àwọn àbáyọ wà so ẹ nílò láti kọ sínú kíní ẹ ń bú wọn ni ẹ ń fẹ́ kó tètè kú ni ẹ àti tí kú báyìí.
àwọn ọ̀dọ́ náà máa ní ó tó gẹ́.
ó tó gẹ́ ó dára ẹ̀yin ọmọdé lẹ́ wàá sọ pé ó tó gẹ́ pàtẹ́ ẹ̀ ní sọ pé bàbá máa ń gbàkútí ó bá gbàkútí ẹjọ́ gbàkútí ẹ̀yin là á sọ fún pé ẹ̀yin bàbá ẹ̀rọ tí mi ò lọ sẹ̀ǹpẹ́ ẹ̀ ní sọ kíní yín voter card ni ó sọ̀rọ̀ yẹn.
All right, I think we have come to the end of the first segment of the program for today. Thank you, Mr. Smollett Shitu Alamu, for coming on the program today.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, our second guest is already in the studio. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we will come back with our second guest. Please don't go away.
I was a kid, Uncle Remus, he put me to bed with a picture of Stonewall Jackson above my head. Then Daddy came in to kiss his little man with gin on his breath and a Bible in his hand. He talked about honor and things I should know. Then he staggered a little as he went out the door. I can still hear the soft southern winds in the live oak trees. And those Williams boys, they still mean a lot to me. Hank and Tennessee, I guess we're all gonna be what we're gonna be.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, it is still the Saturday morning treat, and we are on our second guest platform. We did a Foundry Elders on the second guest platform. We'll be discussing a very important issue that is affecting everybody. Yes, the weather is cold, it's raining. How do you take care of yourself in this weather situation? We have an expert in the house who's discussing that with us this morning. Gary,
yeah.
Please introduce our guest.
Thank you, Aluchi.
Thank you.
On the second guest platform of the program today is Dr. Kayode Oguniyi. Dr. Oguniyi,
yes.
You are welcome on the program.
Thank you.
Yes.
Friend of the house.
Yes, you are a friend of the house. It's been a while, though.
Thank you.
Yes, the weather condition. In those days, when it gets to a particular month, you can easily predict that this is what will happen. It's going to rain between so and so and so and so. There will be heat between. But these days, the weather seems to be on its own. No one seems to be able to predict it anymore. What is happening?
It is the human being that set that place that way.
Okay.
You know, what used to happen in the olden days, whereby people do what's supposed to be normal. And today it's no longer so, for two reasons. One, because people are more enlightened and they believe they can do whatever suits them. And whatever suits you may not suit the atmosphere.
Okay.
That is one. Two, the population is not helping the matter. In those days we are talking about, you know, the population is manageable by the mother earth. But today, I am sure we'll be tending towards 8.6 billion. And the earth is not getting larger. It's the same size since creation. And another thing is that, you know, this time around, the modern system produces chemicals into the atmosphere that continue to degrade the system. The diesel, every house is burning diesel, especially in Nigeria.
we are contributing immensely to the degradation of the environment. In places where you have stable power, energy, everybody does his things in such a way that will not affect the atmosphere. But here, every household, from the small generator I pass my neighbor to the bigger one that uses diesel and discharging smokes or to the atmosphere. So that goes to the ozone layer to degrade it. And because of that, in order to adjust itself, the weather is just doing its own things. And that is the thing. But coming to what we are talking about today, the coldness of the atmosphere and the impact it has on the general population. Naturally, in the tropical region like Nigeria, the atmospheric temperature most of the time is between 24% to 33%, depending on where you are, whether you are in Sokoto or Maiduguri. So whether you are in Lagos, we are talking between 25 degrees Celsius and 33. But in the severe coldness of the atmosphere now, it can go, as low as 20% or 17%. And our system is not used to that because we are supposed to be in the tropical region. So our system is not used to that. So it means the temperature of the atmosphere is abysmally low for our survival. Then you have to have survival strategy in order to survive. It is the kind of time you hear that one old woman, 80, was agile last night. This morning they got to his or her room, gone. Because somewhere in the light you see that around 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m. The temperature of the atmosphere becomes extremely cold. And if you're ordinarily, God has done things in our bodies, the greatest scientist. The metabolism in our system, burning, we have fuel in our system. That is the food we eat, carbohydrate and all those stuff. They become metabolized to generate heat and water and carbon dioxide. So the older you are, the more compromised your system of metabolism is, especially when you are tending towards 80 and above that. So that's why you hear that people just die in their sleep. It happens mostly to under 5 and the very aged. But academically, we are talking of under 5 and over 65. But you and I know that a 70-year-old man who is agile, does here and there, goes here and there, may not be terribly affected as somebody who does nothing.
Yes.
So these are the things.
Now, still talking on the weather condition that we have now, we are well aware of the hazards associated with the prevailing weather as we have it now. How do we manage the system?
Well, let me first of all say that the hazards are myriad, but the frontline one is what we call hypothermia. That the temperature of the body of the individual becomes lower than what is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Our temperature is supposed to be oscillate between 36.8, 37.2 degrees Celsius. When it comes to be lower than 35 degrees Celsius, there will be a problem in the system. It's like the system will be shutting down. So ability of the metabolism to continue to do things the way it's supposed to do becomes lower. And when it is lower, your immunity becomes compromised also, which means you can catch cold, coryza and all those things quickly than somebody whose temperature is optimal. People who have asthma, it is the kind of time that the thing becomes visits them more often than before. people who have what we call chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, like people who have been smoking for long and they have issues managing it, but this time around they may not be able to cope except they make conscious effort to combat it. So these are the things. How do we combat it? One, for the under 5, we have to talk of the most vulnerable group, the under 5 and above 65. For the under 5, the parents have to make sure that they give them covering that can cover their chest enough and make them warm. When they want to give them food, let the food be warm. When they want to bath them, let the bathing water be warm. Whatever you're going to do, the parents also should be able to do something in the home to make the children agile. You know, like some kind of something, clapping and all those things, coordinated by the parent, not just the one that would become hazardous to the child again, run over themselves. So thick clothing, very, very important. And in this kind of time, when you want to take water, take warm water, copiously, so that it can energize your system. For the elderly, one, this is not the kind of time that the elderly people should be left alone to be on their own. Somebody must be going from time to time for Mama, how are you doing? So very, very important. Because when you live a sedentary life, you are in a place like this. Nobody is staring you. And you are not covering yourself with a thick duvet. The chances are there that the temperature, especially the aged, the temperature will be getting to level that your system, and you won't want to stand up because you know there is laziness that comes along with coldness. The chances are that the temperature will just go down below the optimal level that can make that is compatible with survival. And before you know what is happening, the person has died in sleep. So we need, for the elderly, give them thick clothing, give them warm food, warm water, you know, for bathing and for drinking. Of course, the water must be clean, because the more of unclean things you take to your system, coldness compromises immunity. The person can get sick faster than when the temperature is optimal. So these are the things.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, this climate change issue, it's a global thing.
Yes, it is.
Because you see a lot of...
It's global, but contribution comes from all nations.
All nations, yes. Because there are some countries that people are having heat stroke already. Countries that used to be very cold, you know, the sun is dealing with
they have cold stress also.
Then some
there's heat stroke, cold stress.
Yes. Then some bush fires, you know, fires coming from the bush and everything. Now, the world leaders have always been, you know, talking about global action against climate change. Do you think they are sincere enough about it?
Well, you know, the two ways. They are sincere in pursuing the agenda, but individually, they are, because of economic reasons, they do things that the gains they use one right hand to do, the left hand takes away the gain. How? The China, the US, the UK, they produce all this generator where you understand. And some of them, it seems, they deliberately structure Nigeria as a nation in such a way that it will fail. That's the thing. Because they know that if Nigeria survives, they may start to dwindle economically, they themselves. Because a nation like Nigeria, over 200 million, if we get it right, we will no longer be using generator here and there. And if we are not using generator here and there, the pollution we are submitting to the atmosphere
will
reduce. And the climate change, the ozone layer that is being degraded every day, at least we will not be contributing to it any longer. But because of their own economic reason, because they make billion of naira money and dollars from the generator they are selling to us. So they wouldn't want us to have right leadership. That's the truth. They wouldn't. So these are the things. They use one hand, the last time they met in France, they say, okay, let's contribute, let's do this, that, they set agenda. But when they get to their different countries, they say, don't mind anymore. We don't sell our generator to those people. How do we survive our system? That's the thing.
But everyone is feeling it.
Yeah. Everyone is feeling it. When we are talking about let's go to the primary biology we did in secondary school.
Okay.
When the population gets to a level that the system cannot hold, catastrophe will happen. And the catastrophe that will happen is what we are seeing, part of it in Nigeria. Okay. People carrying arms, because where they are living is no longer conducive for them. The desertification is continuing.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So when their system is being, degraded to the extent that no more vegetation, this and that, they want to go to places where you are occupying and you're feeling safe. They say no. So is part of it. Okay. It's a chain reaction.
Okay.
So what we are saying in essence is that if in the long run the universal survivor as regard the ozone layer and degradation of the environment is that every nation must get it right politically. Leadership must do what they are supposed to do. We were in Nigeria when I was young. I'm in my 60s now. When I was very young, the ECN, the Electric Corporation of Nigeria, wherever you have light, you have it good. If you don't have, you don't have. But today, everybody has a bit and it's not working for anybody. And they have changed names differently, but the more they change them, the worse they are offering. And it's not because of them, it's because of leadership. That's the truth. Somebody must breathe down on them and say, this is what must happen in Nigeria. And it must happen that way. Go to even our suburb, I was in Kenya some time ago. For the 2 weeks I spent there, light didn't go one moment. No, it didn't happen. Even in Kenya there. Eastern Africa. And their population, is smaller when you are talking about Nigeria. Go to South Africa, the same. But here we are. So our contribution to environmental degradation is abysmally very high. And until we get it right, I say my family. Thank you, sir.
Kayode Ogini.
Oguniyi. Yes.
Kayode Ogini, sorry for that. Now, ẹ jẹ́ kí a wò ní Yorùbá pẹ̀lú bí ojú ọjọ́ ṣe rí lásìkò yìí. A rí pé ojú ọjọ́ gbogbo ó ń sábà tutù gbogbo ìgbà ni.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
A sì rí pé eléyìí kì í ṣe nǹkan tó bára dé ju bó ṣe yẹ lọ. Kí ni àwọn nǹkan tí ẹ rò wípé irú ojú ọjọ́ tá a ní, kí ni àwọn àléébù tẹ́ rò pé ó lè máa jẹyọ láti bẹ̀?
Ẹ ṣé. Àkọ́kọ́ náà Ọlọ́run tó ṣe ẹ̀dá wa sí ilẹ̀ adúláwọ̀ àti ibi tá a wà yìí, níbi tí ilẹ̀ olóoru ó mọ nǹkan tí ń ṣe. Ẹni tó ṣe wá bẹ́ẹ̀ ni pé ní ilẹ̀ olóoru báyìí àwọn òǹkà gbígbóná ojú ọjọ́ down to temperature ó yẹ kó wà láàrin 24 sí 26 fún ojú ọjọ́. Àwa fúnra wa gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹ̀dá ènìyàn ó yẹ kí òǹkà gbígbóná kó wà láàrin how do we put that, kó wà láàrin 37 ó ti díẹ̀ sí 37 ó lé díẹ̀ bó ṣe kó wà ní. Tó bá sì wà bẹ́ẹ̀ àgọ́ ara wa lè ṣiṣẹ́ tó dáa, gbogbo ẹ̀yà ara wa kíní kan wà ní gbígbà tí ọkọ̀ ń ṣiṣẹ́ ṣe hàn pé yóò máa sun epo bẹ́ẹ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ ni àwa náà ń sun kíní kan lágọ̀ọ́ ara wa. Gbogbo oúnjẹ tá à ń jẹ yẹn àwọn bí nǹkan bí ẹ̀gẹ́ bí ẹyin àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ nígbà wọn bá dàgbọ́ ara wa àwọn ni wọ́n ògùsọ̀ tí wọ́n ti ń dáná fún wa lára, àwọn ni wọ́n pèsè gbígbóná ara tí a fi ń lè rí irú temperature tí mo sọ yẹn. Ṣùgbọ́n bí ojú ọjọ́ bá ti wá tutù ju bó ṣe yẹ lọ dípò kó jẹ́ láàrin 24 sí 30 tó bá ń lọ sí bí 20 ojú ọjọ́ á ti tutù gan-an fúnrú àwọ̀ táwa ní àti bọ́lọ̀ ń ṣiṣẹ́ dá wa débi wípé gbígbóná ara tiwa dípò kó jẹ́ bí 37 tí mo sọ yẹn á wá lọ jẹ́ bí 35 tàbí kó dín díẹ̀. Tó bá ti ń dín bẹ́ẹ̀ díẹ̀ ìjàmbá tó ń ṣe fàgọ́ ara ni pé àwọn èròjà tí máa ń mú ara wa gbóná òun ó dàbí pé wọ́n máa dáṣẹ́ dúró díẹ̀díẹ̀. Tí wọ́n bá dẹ̀ ti ń dáṣẹ́ dúró díẹ̀díẹ̀ gbogbo ẹ̀yà ara wa bíi kíndìnrín, ọkàn, ẹ̀dọ̀fóró, ẹ̀dọ̀ kíkí, ìfun àti wé gbígbóná wọn á lọlẹ̀. Tó bá dẹ̀ lọlẹ̀ ó lè fa ikú àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ṣùgbọ́n ilé pọ̀ láàrin àwọn ọmọ tí ò tí pọ̀dún 5 àti àgbàlagbà tó ti lé ní tó ti fẹ́ pé 70 ló ti máa ń fi bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣọṣẹ́. Lérò àkókò báyìí náà àwọn tó bá ní ikọ́ fée yóò tún kí wọ́n sí ìtàtẹ̀yìnwá lọ. Àwọn tí wọ́n ti mu sìgá látọjọ́ tó ti pẹ́ tí ọ̀fun wọn ti rí bákan tí wọ́n ṣáà ń ra mánéjì ara wọn díẹ̀díẹ̀ irú àkókò báyìí yóò tún wọn gbé àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Gbogbo àwọn nǹkan wọ̀nyí kí wá lọ́nà àbáyọ rẹ̀? Ọ̀nà àbáyọ ni pé fún àwọn ọmọ tí ò tí pọ̀dún 5 àtàwọn àgbàlagbà pápá àwọn arúgbó dáadáa kárí pé oúnjẹ tí wọ́n máa jẹ kó gbóná, omi tí wọ́n fi máa wẹ̀ kó gbóná, omi tí wọ́n máa mu kó mọ́ gara kó sì gbóná. Ká sì rí pé aṣọ tó gbò tútù èèyàn bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe rí mi yìí o nísàlẹ̀ aṣọ 2 ló wà ń bẹ̀ kí n tó gbé ilé kí n tó nítorí pé mo mọ ọṣẹ́ tó lè ṣe sí gbáyà. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ló yẹ kí gbogbo èèyàn ṣe máa ṣe, pàápàá jùlọ ẹni bá ti lé 60 àti wọ́n ti ọmọ ọdún 5 sísàlẹ̀ ó ṣe pàtàkì ká dẹ̀ rí pé gbogbo tá a bá lè ṣe láti máa mú eré ìdárayá tá a lágbára bíi pé kárìn àbí ẹni bá àwọn tí wọ́n ní ẹ̀rọ eré ìdárayá ń lé irú àkókò tó yẹ kán máa lò ní irú àkókò yìí kò sì dáa kí àgbàlagbà tàbí ọmọdé kan máa dá sùn lẹ́ẹ̀kọ̀ọ̀kan. Ó yẹ kárẹ́ ni tí bóyá nìkan kàn tiẹ̀ jí lọ́sọ̀ ló fẹ̀gbẹ́ gbá ẹ tí wọ́n náà tún yí ẹ̀gbẹ́ padà. Gbogbo orú nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀
eléyìí wà láàyè.
Gbogbo orú nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ á jẹ́ kí ara ẹni yẹn náà tún tètè tún adjust ni. Ṣùgbọ́n tó bá ti di pé ẹnìkan dá wà pọ́lọ́kú tí ò sí ẹni tí ó jí tí ò sẹ́ni tí ó tẹ̀mọ́lẹ̀ tí ó ṣeé ṣe kó gbójú oorun dójú kú nítorí pé tútútù agbègbè yẹn tó bá dẹ̀ ti wá tutù dénú gbogbo èròjà ara wa tí à ń fi jagun fún àìsàn wọn náà fẹ́ sùn. Ètò tún dàbí rẹ̀ ni pé gbogbo ẹ̀dọ̀fóró ẹ̀dọ̀ kíkí gbogbo ẹ̀jẹ̀ tí ń lọ ọbẹ̀ tí àkókò bá agbọnú àkókò bá ti tutù báyìí àwọn kíní kan wà táwọn pè ní vessels tó ń gbé ẹ̀jẹ̀ káàkiri ara wọ́n á súnkì tó bá ti súnkì á wá jẹ́ kí ọkàn ó ṣiṣẹ́ agídí sí i kẹ́jẹ̀ lè débẹ̀ ìdí nìyẹn tó jẹ́ pé tí àkókò bá tí agbègbè bá tutù báyìí ní táwọn pè ní blood pressure wa ó máa ń fẹ́ gòkè díẹ̀ sí ju ìgbà tí agbègbè mòoru lọ.
ẹ ṣe gan nígbà tí a sọ lóyìnbó lẹ́ẹ̀kan ẹ sọ pé àwọn nǹkan tó fà á tí ojú ọjọ́ yẹn àyípadà ṣe bá ojú ọjọ́ wípé àfọwọ́fà ni.
àfọwọ́fà ni bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
báwo ló ṣe jẹ́ àwọn nǹkan wo là ń ṣe tí a fi ń bójú ọjọ́ jẹ́.
àfọwọ́fà ni n tá à ń ṣe tí a fi ń bójú ọjọ́ jẹ́ ó pín sórí ṣíṣe ọ̀nà àkọ́kọ́ náà ẹ rí i pé láyé àtijọ́ gbogbo n tá à ń pariwo climate change ozone layer àbàjẹ́ nǹkan kan bẹ́ẹ̀ kò ṣẹlẹ̀ torí pé àkọ́kọ́ iye èèyàn tó wà lágbàáyé ńgbà náà ó kéré ṣùgbọ́n nísìnyí tá a bá ń wò á máa lé lọ bí bílíọ̀nù 8 àbọ̀ káàkiri àgbáyé.
wọ́n ṣe ń bí sí tán rẹ̀ sí.
so a ti máa lọ bí ẹ rí i pé bí àwọn èèyàn ṣe ń kú láyé àtijọ́ ó dàbí pé generally ẹ̀mí ti ń gùn sí nísìnyí fún àwọn tó bá mọ kí ló yẹ kán ṣe kì í ṣe gbogbo ẹ náà ní NRC ń pa wọn jẹ àwọn èèyàn fúnra wọn àfọ́fà pọ̀ inú àfọ́fà yẹn ni pé kí ẹjẹ́ aṣọ tójú ọjọ́ yẹn àfọ́fà ojú ọjọ́ tó bó ṣe rí ni pé gbogbo ẹ rí pé lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà iná ọba ò dágara tó bá bó sì ṣe rí yẹn ilé kọ̀ọ̀kan tẹ́ bá rìn ní alẹ́ ẹ máa gbọ́ katakata oríṣiríṣi jẹnẹrétọ̀ ló wà àwọn pọ́kúlówó ẹ̀ títí dé àwọn tó tún tóbi títí dé àwọn tí ò ní dún àti tó dún àti tí ò dún gbogbo wọn ni wọ́n ń ju èéfín sáfẹ́fẹ́ tó sì jẹ́ pé èròjà tó wà nínú èéfín yẹn ó lọ ń ba ojú ọjọ́ jẹ́ ni orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà àwa là ń lo ẹ̀rọ amúnáwá àgbélẹ̀rọ gbogbo ju bó ṣe yẹ lọ lágbàáyé bá a dẹ̀ ṣe ń ṣe yẹn èyí tí à ń fi sí ojú ọjọ́ láti bàjẹ́ ó pọ̀ láti orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ju ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ibi lágbàáyé lọ torí báyìí a ti lé ní mílíọ̀nù 200 lóòótọ́ báwọn èèyàn ṣe ń kú náà ń bímọ báwọn èèyàn ṣe ń kú náà ń bímọ ẹ rí i pé iye ọmọ tí ń kú lóòótọ́ ó lè pọ̀ o ṣùgbọ́n èyí tán bí ó ti pọ̀ ju tí ń kú lọ so nípa bẹ́ẹ̀ ilẹ̀ ò sì fẹ̀ sí bí àgbáyé ṣe wà tẹ́lẹ̀ náà ló wà dòní bí ènìyàn ṣe ń gbó náà ni àgbáyé náà ṣe ń gbó gbígbó yẹn òun ni àwa rí nípa bíba ojú léyà ozone jẹ́ òun ló ń fà á adẹ̀sọ́ lẹ́ẹ̀kan pé àjọ àgbáyé lóríṣiríṣi orílẹ̀-èdè ni wọ́n sọ pé mọ́jà bójú ọjọ́ jẹ́ wọ́n ń fọwọ́ kan sọ tí wọ́n sì ń gbìyànjú wọ́n ń dáwó wọ́n ń ṣe tó yẹ ṣùgbọ́n lọ́wọ́ kejì nítorí ọ̀rọ̀ ajé wọ́n ń ba tí wọ́n fọwọ́ tún ṣe jẹ́ wọ́n fowó òsì bàjẹ́ torí pé èrò China Amẹ́ríkà Korea àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ àwọn ń ṣe ẹ̀rọ amúnáwá tá à ń lò àwọn ò sì ní fẹ́ mọ́ ríbi tà sí so nípa rírí ibi tà sí yẹn wọn sì ní fẹ́ ká ní olórí tó dáa tí ò jẹ́ kí ẹ̀rọ amúnáwá kó ṣe déédéé kó ṣe déédéé tí ò bá ti ṣe déédéé wàhálà ni lóòótọ́ ìjọba ń gbìyànjú ṣùgbọ́n omi fẹ́ pọ̀ jọkà lọ àfi kán wá ọ̀rọ̀ kan fi ṣàdá kí gbogbo ẹ̀ ó fi dà.
ọ̀mọ̀wé wa kí ni àwọn nǹkan tí ẹ rò pé àtúnwá lè ṣe pàápàá jùlọ ní apá àbítà wà yìí ó dà pé ojú ọjọ́ ẹ̀ ń tutù jù.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ó tutù inú bí gan ó tutù ẹ̀yin tá a lè ṣe àkọ́kọ́ náà ní ìgbọ́nu ẹnìkọ̀ọ̀kan kárí pé à ń wọṣọ tó gba òtútù bẹ́ẹ̀ mi ṣe wà yín sìn bí aṣọ méjì wà ń sálẹ̀ ẹlẹ́ kí n tó gbé ilé lójú mo mọ ewu tó lè wà nù kí òtútù rọ sí báyà ìyẹn báwọn àwọn ọmọdé wa ọmọ ọdún 5 sísàlẹ̀ àti arúgbó láti 70 sókè kárí pé à ń gbìyànjú ibi tí wọ́n bá sùn sí káàárẹ̀ ẹni tí ó mọ táwọn jí lákòókò kán má bàa gbójú oorun dójú kú ìyẹn báwọn bẹ́ẹ̀ náà làwọn ọmọdé wa ó ṣe pàtàkì ló àkókò báyìí kọ́mọdé tó sùn lálẹ́ kán wọṣọ sweater tó dáa fún un so gbogbo àwọn nǹkan wọ̀nyí fún ní ìgbọnnu tìjọba kán wá bí ẹ̀rọ amúnáwá àbí bí iná ọba bí ó ṣe dáa tí òfin ní jẹ́ kí gbogbo àdúgbò ní ó mọ̀ ṣe kátàkátà tí ó mọ̀ bá ojú ọjọ́ jẹ́ lọ́dún kan mo lọ sí Kẹ́ńyà mo lọ ọ̀sẹ̀ méjì gbogbo ọ̀sẹ̀ méjì mi iná ọba ò ṣẹ́jú pín so irú tó dáa nìyẹn tá a bá lè ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ àjọ tá à ń dá láti bójú ọjọ́ jẹ́ yóò dínkù.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kayode. He has been on the set for some minutes now, telling us about the weather, climate change, the depletion of the ozone layer, and the causes and the prevention. Thank you so much for making it to the program this morning, Dr. Kayode. Yes, and I'm also saying another thank you to the other Kayode, Adebayo. Two Kayodes on the set this morning.
I'm glad that Adebayo Baba today morning, so you are going to pay me.
All right.
Yes, we're going to our commercial segment now. Saturday Morning Treat continues after that. Please don't go away.
We at LAPO are committed to poverty eradication. We equally believe that the battle against poverty requires the effort of everyone.
Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Bridging the Gap, a program produced by Little Poverty Organization LAPO. Patience Nakumwana is my name. And on the program this morning, we are going to be talking about healthcare in rural Nigeria. We know that people living in rural areas of Nigeria, they lack qualitative healthcare systems, including good hospitals, professionals, drugs, and even health awareness programs, which would help educate them on how to live a healthy life. So on the program this morning, we're going to be talking about barriers, some of the barriers to healthcare and disease prevention in rural Nigeria. And I have in the studio with me this morning to be talking about this Dr. Andrew Ojebon. Doctor, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you, madam. My pleasure, and good day, viewers.
Yeah. Dr. Andrew Ojebon is from the Department of Public Health and Community Medicine, University of Benin Teaching Hospital. But before we continue, let's quickly take the LAPO message. Welcome back from LAPO message. All right, doctor. When we say rural areas, what do we actually mean by that?
Okay, thank you for your question. So rural areas, we say areas that we cannot classify as urban. That means areas that could be remote areas, hard to reach areas, areas that have low population density, fewer settlements, there is more communal living. Their predominant occupation are agrarian, agriculture. There are less economic activities going on, okay, because it's not like the urban. So when a community or an area does not fit into an urban classification, then it is a rural area.
So why do you think rural healthcare is important?
Yes, rural healthcare is important because, number one, the people living in the rural areas are humans. They are as humans as those in the urban areas. So we are all equal. So if those in the urban areas have a right to health, then they also have a right to health. Because health is a fundamental right for every human being. And it is the government's social responsibility to ensure health for the citizens. So, as I said, it's a fundamental right, so it's important. Secondly, there are peculiarities with the rural areas, okay, because of their, the disadvantage, if I use that language, okay, because of they are hard to reach. It's a remote area. Some amenities are not really available, okay, and they have, in fact, if you do a comparative study between the urban area in terms of certain mobilities, you will find them more in the rural areas. You understand? And so it's important that we must take good health care, quality health care to the rural areas and make them accessible and affordable.
But some persons are of the opinion that we have more the aged population, so to say, in the rural areas.
Yes, so that is one of the demographic characteristics or peculiarity with the rural areas. There are more aged people in the rural areas, people who were even once in the urban areas but are retired, so they just feel they should go back to the rural areas and settle there and live, because the rural area may be more supporting, in terms of having to live as an elderly, because when it comes to elderly, there are peculiarities we know with them. So it's easier to live in that environment because there are communal, relationships, there are support systems, extended family members that they can see. So there are more aged people in the rural areas, and the elderly have their kind of ailments. I mean, as one gets older, there are kind of ailments that come alongside with it. And so you have more of those mobilities, osteoarthritis, fractures, diabetes, chronic medical conditions, hypertension, all of that are predominant in the rural areas. And then, of course, you don't also forget that there are also smaller children, younger children, because the vibrant workforce most often will migrate to the cities where there are jobs, where there are job opportunities. So you leave mostly the dependents, those who are less than 15, who are not yet economically productive and viable, and those who have retired. So these extremes are more, in the rural areas. And these are the ones that don't have the money to even procure or access healthcare if they are to buy, such services.
Okay, are there barriers to quality healthcare services in these areas?
Yes, yes, there are barriers. There are barriers, especially in rural areas. Let's tackle it, first of all, geographically. As I said, some of these areas are so remote that even when you compare the distance between the households to the only functional health centers that they have, the distance can be very frustrating, because if somebody has to trek, maybe an elderly man has to go a long mile, trek or ride the bicycle to get to the nearest primary center that is so far away, ideally, it should be within easy reach. So that is a barrier, and sometimes they will not want to go that far. Secondly, there are no good roads. For you to be able to access healthcare, your mode of transportation is also key, because when you have an emergency, for example, you need to be able to get to the hospital fast enough. Okay, and when you cannot achieve that in good time, that is a barrier. Okay, and then look at also economic access. Most importantly is poverty. More of these rural dwellers are really poor. Not many of them can pay for healthcare, and so they would rather take alternatives than seeking healthcare. Okay, because there were times I've been to the rural areas. When you organize medical outreaches, they are happy to come out And when you see them, you interact with them, they tell you that they've had this condition for a long time. And you're asking them, what can you be doing about it? And they say, no money. And so that is a major barrier, that they are poor and they cannot afford healthcare. And more of the time, they do not even have social insurance, which we can find in the cities or in formal setups. They don't have social insurance that will enable them to still achieve healthcare even when they don't have finances to run. And then, don't also forget that because it's a rural area, some of these people have cultural predilections. There are cultural barriers. Their behavior, their health-seeking behavior is quite poor for some people. Okay, of course, there are people who are educated that are in the rural areas as well, but the majority are not educated, they are not informed, they are not enlightened about their health, they have poor health-seeking behavior. So when they are ill, what comes to their mind first is to either go to a patent medicine store or patronize traditional, healers, or those who are pregnant take deliveries in, delivery homes that are not competent to handle such deliveries, and when complications come, that is a different ballgame entirely. So these are barriers, cultural barriers, really. And so those are the things that we try to surmount, when we want to intervene.
Now let's look at the challenges as it concerns women now. What are some of these challenges that they face in rural areas?
Yes, women, women are at risk groups most times because they are vulnerable, especially when we talk about women in their reproductive age, okay, from 15 to about 49 years old, because of their fertility capacity. So first of all, you have that in rural areas we have more maternal mortalities, deaths due from, pregnancy-related events, okay? More of maternal deaths come from the rural areas because, number one, when a woman is pregnant, they will not even go to the primary health center, okay? And then they will patronize other people who, can supervise them. But unfortunately, these people have a little idea of what to do, but there's a limit to their skill, there's a limit to their competence. So when they do not know when to refer, that is a problem. As for these women also, may even go to register for antenatal, but when it comes to delivery time, they will prefer to deliver at home or have a traditional bed attendant come and take such deliveries. And sometimes you never can tell which delivery can have complications because nobody has identified risk. Some pregnancies are high risk, okay? And so if you are not assessing healthcare rightly, it means a lot can happen. So maternal mortality is a big problem, okay? And then, because of that, it dovetails into even children because they are the ones who take care of our children. If a pregnancy comes down with complications, for example, let's say abortion, it means you're also going to lose the baby most often. The baby will die either in the womb or shortly after birth because it will affect perinatal mortality and even child mortality. So most of these indices, health indices, maternal mortality, infant mortality, child under 5 mortalities will also be affected negatively. And that's why in Nigeria we still have high rates, and it's a negative indicator for us as a country that we should improve indices, our health indices across board. First of all, our women, they are prone to that. And don't also forget that because when it comes to women empowerment, they are less empowered in the rural areas. Most of them are not well educated, so they don't even know that they have rights. And so they are subjected to certain cultural practices, like, for example, female genital mutilation, which is atrocious. It is unacceptable in our modern society today. Okay, you can see children being circumcised, and they're mutilated. It is mutilation. It is violence against women. And so these are some of the challenges. Also, teenage pregnancies are common. Okay, some of these children who may not go to school will now be prone to other social vices like rape and then early pregnancies, teenage pregnancy, and there are complications that can arise. So there are a whole myriad of reproductive and sexual health related issues that confront women, especially in the rural areas.
All right. let's take a break here to bring you the faces of LAPO. And when we come back, we'll be talking about solutions, the way forward.
My name is Mrs. Esther Omoyoma. I dey Efru Market along PTI Road. The business one I dey do na bead. I dey say I dey into bead, cap, walking stick. That is anything pertaining to native dressing. Nowadays, I don join LAPO since 2008. I dey take money, they say they trade at that time. That make me join now. When I joined LAPO, so my business can improve because LAPO they help. If you need money, they go give you to improve your market. So when you join LAPO, if you take the money, you not take and go pay debt if they use and well. It go help you train your children. It go help you do anything where you want to do. Wetin I don't take a achieve, they say, like the store where you they see so. Now LAPO make me get am. When I take the money, I they put them for the store. And my grandchildren, where they stay with me, if they help me, they push them, go front. Like all this lamp, where would they use? If they sees light now, go on this lamp. Now LAPO are for taker. Like fan, where they blow me for night, if light not there, now LAPO. Many things. Like you want buy access now. If you go there, they go sell for you. So far make you fit pay. I dey advise people, if you want take money for LAPO, if you take them, you not hold house rent for ground where you want take the money pay. Or as you just carry the money, you go take and pay school fees. So pay and back, it go hard you. But if you take and buy something for your shop, you dey sell the thing, you dey pay back. You dey sell, you dey pay back. Know how you go fit pay. So I dey advise people who want take LAPO, I fit show on the road for LAPO, but not take and pay gbese. Wetin they do is good because they help many people. People will not even get money at all. If they go take the money, if they use them in a way, it will help them. Even people where they sell tomatoes, the time when they start to give LAPO 10,000, some take and survive. So I dey advise LAPO make it give people money.
Welcome back from Faces of LAPO. All right, Doctor, let's finally look at solutions. Let's look at the way forward. How do we improve healthcare in these areas, in the rural areas?
So first, I will tackle it from two perspectives. First, from the community level and from the government level. At the community level, when we come into communities and we understudy the prevailing health problems, that particular community, because every community has their peculiarities, okay? And so we need to carry out community diagnosis, conduct some research, get to know what their felt needs are. The people must first of all agree that they have a problem, and then also participate in the process of bringing out solutions to their problems. And it is when they are all involved, that they now own, the projects or the interventions, or the solutions that come on board. So we will ensure, these people are involved, advocacy, social mobilization, community mobilization, which will involve a lot of health education and health promotion activities. We want to educate them about, certain, harmful cultural practices which they should desist from. And also reinforce or promote the good habits, because it's not every cultural practice that is bad. Some are good. Coming from the government perspective, government, as I said earlier, has its core mandate to ensure that the citizens are healthy, because if your citizens are not healthy, they will not be productive. That means the economy will also be stranded. And so, government all over the world, it is a general consensus, even based on our sustainable development goals, okay? SDGs 1, 2, 3, and thereabout. All is geared towards ensuring that there's equity in health distribution. Healthcare should not only be a product for the rich. It is also a product for the poor. And so there must be equity in distribution. And that comes to government ensuring that there is equity in distribution of healthcare services. Okay? What we find most times is most of our manpower in the health sector are located in the urban areas, leaving very few, to man the rural areas. And that is a disproportionate distribution. So we want more persons, more manpower, more doctors, nurses, CHIUs, and other cadre of health workers, to man a primary health center. And that's why we have primary health centers, because that primary health center is the closest unit, where healthcare delivery takes place. So we may not have the benefit of having a hospital like EBTH, in the rural community, but we have primary health center, and it is the goal of every government to ensure, like I also know from this government, even it's a national consensus that every ward should have at least one primary health center. That will reduce the time lost, in trying to access, those health services. That will encourage people to come out. That will change the health care seeking behavior. Okay, and so that is one. Secondly, these people, when they even come to the health centers, some services are not even available because the personnel are not there or they're out of drugs. Okay, so this out of drug syndrome is a problem, and that's why the drug recovery fund, which was a product of the Bamako initiative, came on board to ensure that there's always constant supply of drug. It's a system that ensures that there's a recovery fund that ensures right from the seed capital to ensure there's always drugs available. Because if a patient comes to the hospital or to the health center and after seeing the nurse or the doctor or whatever, and they tell the person that there are no drugs, go and buy elsewhere, they won't come back because it is a failed system. They won't have trust and confidence for the system. And so that should be in place. Services, both reproductive, sexual, and other, germane areas of healthcare, should be provided within the limits of the primary centers. And where they cannot be provided, there's always room for referral to the next level. So I think government should ensure that our POCs across board, especially at the local government, that they are working, they are functional. If you go around some of these areas, most of those POCs are not working. And they don't even offer 24-hour services. Maybe they just come from morning to afternoon and evening and they close. What happens at night when there's an emergency? Because there can be emergencies. So we all have a stake, both from the individual, both from the household, both from the community level, and then the government. We must put things together, collaborate, home healthcare, okay, to ensure that we improve healthcare for our citizens, both for our elderly populations and our young ones, and even the young ones. Everyone is at risk of being sick, and so when such events happen, there must be appropriate care and services provided for to ensure that there's delivery, there's recovery, and then reduce issues of complications, disabilities arising from certain things. Because the truth is that there are a whole lot of complications that arise when the right persons don't handle the health care. When you have people who are not competent handling deliveries, and then there are a lot of stillbirth, a lot of maternal mortality. We want more skilled birth attendants in the rural areas to take deliveries for our pregnant women in those communities. We want more trained personnel. There's to be training and retraining. Government is doing something, at least to some extent, but there's room for improvement. I must commend government, but government must continue to put enough funds, into the health sector. Currently, the health sector is really not really attracting, the right, amount or the percentage from the budget that is ideal as specified by, WHO. So government, both at the federal level, at the state level, should see healthcare as a primary driving force for the GDP of the state or the economy, of the productivity potential of the populace. Because there are countries in the world that are investing massively in healthcare because they believe that the rippling effect will improve. I mean, if you have a healthy population, you have a vibrant working force and more returns. More people are working. If someone is sick and is at home for days, that is loss. That is economic loss. and wastage. So government should sit up, and the communities also should own health care in their settlements.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Doctor, for spending this lovely Saturday morning with us. Yeah, we appreciate you. All right, we've been talking about barriers to healthcare and disease prevention in rural Nigeria and the way forward. And the way forward for us, I'm going to add to what Doctor has been telling us. I'm going to read from a report that I have here. With the concentration of poverty, low health status, and high disease burden in rural areas, there is a need to focus specifically on improving the health of people in rural and remote areas, particularly if the urban drift is to be reversed. The World Health Organization International Development Program has highlighted this with specific objectives for policies and action which promote sustainable livelihoods, including access for people to land, resources, and markets, as well as better education, health, and opportunities for rural people. These objectives seek to contribute to lowering child and maternal mortality and to improve basic health care for all, including reproductive services. That has been on the program for today. For those who want to reach out to us, you can do that through by sending us text messages. Social media handles are on the screen. You can also walk into any of our offices and you would be welcomed. Till we come your way again. Peace. Bye-bye.
Let's listen to this public service. Let's listen to this public service announcement. The governor of the state of Osun, Mr. Adegboyega Oyetola, has approved Monday, 22nd of August 2022, a public holiday in commemoration of this year's Isese Day. This is contained in a release issued and signed by the Honorable Commissioner for Special Duties, Mr. Olalekan Badmus, who is also the Supervising Commissioner for the Ministry of Home Affairs. The approval is in recognition of the month of August, usually set aside annually by the traditional religion worshippers to celebrate Isese festival in the state. And that ends the public service announcement. Thank you. Let's listen to this public service announcement. The governor of the state of Osun, Mr. Adegboyega Oyetola, has approved Monday, 22nd of August 2022, a public holiday in commemoration of this year's Isese Day. This is contained in a release issued and signed by the Honorable Commissioner for Special Duties, Mr. Olalekan Badmus, who is also the Supervising Commissioner for the Ministry of Home Affairs. The approval is in recognition of the month of August, usually set aside annually by the traditional religion worshippers to celebrate Isese festival in the state. And that ends the public service announcement. Thank you.
Yes, you are welcome back. I want to say very big thank you to Lapo for that beautiful presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Yes, this is where we'll be trying to cut things onto this edition of the Saturday Morning Trade. Thank you very much, our producer, Oladayola Nipeko, assistant producer, Abdul Adelisi, and the executive producer, Akinola Olabi. Harry.
Yeah, this is a convenient spot for us to end the program for today. Next week Saturday is another day.
Yes, now before we go, we want to say thank you to everyone that contributed to the success of this program, the cameraman, the TriCaster, the VTR, everybody, thank you, down to the transmitter personnel. Thank you so much and thank you, our audience, for always been there since 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Thank you for always being there. Keep enjoying the rest of our programs. Thank you, Kayode.
Thank you,
Anchor. Next week is another time.
All right.
Enjoy your day.
Yeah. All right.
Yorùbá bọ̀ bọ̀ wọ́n ní iṣẹ́ lóògùn ìṣẹ́ múra síṣẹ́ ọ̀rẹ́ mi iṣẹ́ òun la fi ń dẹni gíga ẹ̀dá tó bá ṣiṣẹ́ ló ń jàre òṣì káfọ́nà àlùmọ̀kọ́rọ́ yín kọ́ làjọ kì í gbé ní dọjọ́ alẹ́ rárá ẹ jájọ fìpàdé sórí ìtẹ́ ìkìlọ̀ ká gbọ́n tọ́rọ̀ àgbà ní fún wa lórí eléyìí.
púpọ̀ tèmi ní àràbà ìfàyẹmí ẹlẹ́bùíbọn ẹni tí ń ṣiṣẹ́ ní sóògùn ọ̀sẹ́ ẹni tí bá ń jalè lóníkálù ń pa oògùn owó ń bẹ kò sì sóògùn owó iṣẹ́ lóògùn owó tó níṣòwò bá jí tó gba ìdí ọjà rẹ̀ lọ oògùn owó ní í ṣe àwọn alájàpá tí wọ́n ń lọ káàkiri orígun mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin àgbáyé oògùn owó ni torí ká lè sinmi là á ṣe é ṣàìsinmi gbogbo èèyàn tó bá ń ṣe iṣẹ́ rẹ̀ lọ́nà bó ti tọ́ bó ti yẹ oògùn owó ni oògùn owó tí mò ń sọ pé kò sí òní kéèyàn máa wá ànábọ̀ kéèyàn máa wá ọṣẹ pé ká máa jí ká máa kówó ń di rẹ̀ kínní kan ń bẹ tí owó ọmọ dàálẹ̀ wọ̀ ní ara rẹ̀ àbámọ̀dá ni kì í sóògùn owó gbogbo iṣẹ́ téèyàn wá sí láyé yìí a lè ṣáájò sí ọlọ́run ò káájò ṣùgbọ́n wípé ànábọ̀ ni kínní kan tẹ bá ti ṣe ara rẹ̀ lówó ti máa wá a máa kówó àbí wọ́n fi adìẹ ṣe kínní kan tádìẹ bá ti lè gbé àgbàdo méjì ọdún méjì ní olò yóò lówó lọ́dún kan gbogbo èèyàn èé sára ẹ̀ oògùn owó tí ń bẹ ní kékéèyàn tẹ pamọ́sẹ́ wọ́n ní òòṣà tí gbọ̀lẹ̀ òsì òkú tó ọdá òpógún ebè tó ọkọ òpọ́gbọ̀n òní kó òòṣà ó fàṣẹ sí òòṣà ìgbọ̀lẹ̀ ẹni tó bá ti tẹ pamọ́sẹ́ rẹ̀ tó bá ń ṣáájò sí ìní wọ́pẹ́ á pé ẹ lọ górí wá ẹ lọ gọ́rùn wá tẹ́ ń bá káàkiri òde ayé nìsín ní tí gbẹ̀yìn rẹ̀ àbámọ̀ ni àbámọ̀ ní gbẹ̀yìn rẹ̀ torí ẹni tó fèèyàn ṣoògùn èèyàn lọ́hùn ọ̀hún á mọ̀ ọ̀hún yàn torí bẹ́ẹ̀ ìyànjú mi fún gbogbo ẹ̀yin yẹn tẹ́ ń gbọ́ mi lásìkò yìí ni pé kí a ti pamọ́sẹ́ ká sì wá owó lọ́nà ẹ̀tọ́ kí àwa náà lè ní ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀ kí ilé ayé wa kó lè tòrò kó lè tùbà kó túṣẹ iṣẹ́ lóògùn sẹ́wọ̀n.
àbọ̀rọ̀ rèé ó ló tún fọmọlúàbí kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin afọ̀nà àlùmọ̀kọ̀rọ̀ yìí kọ́làjò lọ jáwọ́ ká mọ́ bá gé kàbámọ̀ jẹ nígbẹ̀yìn ni o iléeṣẹ́ ìròyìn àti ìlanilọ́yẹ̀ ará ìlú nípìnlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun ló ń ké tantan.
I don't know which. I don't understand that pitch.
Translate. We don't know. Aton na wish. Aton na wish. Translate this to English. Aton na wish.
Jesus! What have I done to deserve all this bullshit right here?
Translate to English. Aton na wish. Na wish.
Lying will ruin your goddamn life.
Translate this to English. Aton na wish.
Everybody now. I'll be everything
Everybody
now.
wish.
Now wish. Yes.
The flow.
Bros, I thought I wish now waiting for English. I don't know.
Well done. Clap on for yourself. Will you say I did not teach you all these things?
Translate this to English. Aton na wish.
It's English already.
It's broken.
That's pidgin. So translate it to English. Atol na wish. Last is wish.
0.904. That makes no sense at all. Our answer could it be 35.904? No, that's not even close to 370. How about 359.04? Yes, that's rather close to 170. How about the last choice there, 3,590.4? Well, that's way too. Or there must be two decimal places in the answer, 359.04. Okay, let's take a look at another problem. 4.9 times 0.38. In this case, I've done the multiplication for you. 1862 when I multiply 38 times 49. And there are three choices. 1.862, 18.62, and 186.2. I want you to stop the tape. I want you to think about which of those answers must be correct. And when you start the tape up again, we'll see if your answer is right. Well, again, 4.9 is pretty close to 5. 0.38, well, let's see. 0.3 is a fraction. So the answer has to be a bit less than 5. Okay? So, could it be 18? Could it be 186? I don't think so. 1.862 is obviously a correct answer. Again, 4.9 has one decimal place. 0.38 has two decimal places. Altogether, that gives us three decimal places. And there must be three decimal places in the answer. We start at the extreme right after the last digit and move the decimal point 1, 2, 3 places between the 1 and the 8, and we get 1 and 862 thousandths. And that is our introduction to the multiplication of decimals. Let's take a look at division. Now, the first problem we see here is 0.3 divided into 7.44. Let's think about what the meaning of division is. Division is the opposite of multiplication. What we're asking ourselves is 0.3 times what equals 7? That is, if we're going to divide the 3 into the 7, 0.3 times what equals 7? Okay? Now, what if I simply said, breaking it up, 0.3 is 3/10. 7 is 7 ones. Remember, we multiply digit times digit and place value times place value. 3 times what